On Wednesday, Attorney General Eric Holder traveled to Ferguson, Missouri, where he visited Michael Brown's parents and met with officials. He said he understands the mistrust of police by the black Americans and realized how humiliating it was being stopped by police when he was younger. Is there a war on black men in America? Joining me now is Bob Woodson, the founder and president of the Center for Neighborhood Enterprise, Ellie Mistel, attorney and editor of AboveTheLaw.com, and Tara Setmeyer, the co-host of Real News on the Blaze. Good to have all of you here today. Thank you. Ellie, is there a war on black men in this country? Do you feel that way?
You know, if it was a war, I'd be allowed to fight back. So I don't feel like there's a war. I feel like it's terrorism. I feel like what's happening right now is that we have a small group of people who are psychologically terrorizing the black community. One of the things that the mainstream media isn't talking about nearly enough.
I mean, would that be Al Sharpton and people who are taking advantage of them?
Right.
No, and I'm not being facetious, but it seems like that there's an attempt by some of these folks to go in and stir people up and create this tension.
Stir people up. They left that boy's body lying in the street for 4 hours. That is psychological terrorism committed upon the community of Ferguson.
Can I say?
So that's why. So when you say that there are people coming in to inflame the tensions, they left his body. That's a blatant disrespect for human life. And I think that if we had more respect for human life of all colors, we wouldn't see these kinds of things.
Tara, I know you want to get involved.
Yes. So first of all, psychological terrorism is an American journalist's head being cut off publicly for the world to see. That's terrorism. So do not try to equate those things. Those things are not to make this morally equivalent, a mistaken procedure. Should the police have covered his body? Yes, they should have. Does that give rise to people looting and rioting and burning down their own neighborhoods? Absolutely
yes, it
not.
actually gave rise to it.
No, it does
it
not.
actually gave rise to it when the man was left. Because this doesn't happen in other cities, right? Eric Campbell in this city was choked to death on YouTube. We all saw it. This city didn't blow up. You know why? Because they didn't leave his body lying on the ground for the community to walk.
Riot and loot their own neighborhoods.
I'm not saying it's an excuse. I'm saying it's a cause.
You know, wait, there's a war on black men. That war is within the black community itself. You want to have that honest discussion?
Tara, hold on. Bob, one of the things I want to ask you in relationship to this conversation, you mentioned, and I don't think we're talking enough about it, the damage done in that community. I mean, there's some real people now who tell us what has happened, because you did some research on this that I thought was fascinating.
I want to really give voice to Natasha Cornell, who lives 2 blocks, and I'm quoting, from the site of the violence. She said half of these protesters are not from this area. We don't have any more stores to go buy anymore because they're burned down. My 20-year-old is running from home in terror. He was terrified. It's not a race issue. It's a fact that people who want to come in and vent and loot. So the Natashas are the ones. But and they are the collateral damage. Let me tell you what's happening right now. Natasha and other people, the public bus system has stopped because people shot at a bus. The damage to property values, 30 businesses burned down, which means they can't go to work. 11,000 kids are not going to school. People, and so you have insurance premiums going up. No one's going to rebuild in that community. So we have a systematic destruction of a people. There's one other danger that we don't talk about that happened in Cincinnati. If you keep demonizing the police, what will happen is that they'll begin to boycott those high crime areas. And in Cincinnati, what happened is that the police said, well, if we're going to be accused of racism, then we just won't enforce the laws. The murder rate went up 800% in those high crime areas.
That's a scary thing.
It is not the son, it is not the children of Al Sharpton or any of these race hustlers. They're not suffering the consequences of the actions that they're taking. It's the local grassroots people who are suffering.
So if the police are angry about the situation, they can choose to not enforce the law?
That's what they do. That's the consequence of you demon. No, it's not good.
Why are we
Who's responsible for demonizing them?
Why are we defending bad policemen?
It's not a bad. It's a matter of encourage. Let the Natasha Cornells come together and decide what is responsible policing, not you or anyone from outside who hustles the problems of people like her.
You know, one of the things that's real sad is when, you know, people would take the law into their own hands and the police would, or any enforcement agency, would decide what laws they're going to enforce. Right. Sort of like when the Attorney General doesn't enforce the law against the IRS when they're spying on citizens. Or that's one that's come to my mind. All right. Of the 12 people that are on the Michael Brown grand jury, only 3 are black. So will the racial makeup have any impact on whether there will be an indictment? We'll talk about that and some more. We'll get it all in when we come back. Stay with us.